Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today we're going to be looking at the upcoming Ranked Season 2. It's going to be in Tier 4 this time, so today we'll be talking about the cruisers. I'll talk a little bit about the Marblehead here, which is going to get my top pick. I do have at least two videos on this ship already. If you haven't seen them and you're interested in the Marblehead, you can go into my playlist section on my channel, go to the cruisers, and you should find some there. I've had more than one 4000K XP game in the ship. I strongly recommend it. And it's usually either this or the Kamikaze that I'll use for my weekly Tier 4 premium giveaway, whatever that mission's called. It comes out every Sunday for promotion orders. Anyways, the primary difference between this and the Omaha on paper is the torpedo system. The Marblehead has a much faster cycling system. I think 38 seconds on my builds compared to 66 on the Omaha. Longer range, about just shy of 3 kilometers longer. And it's the slowest torps known to mankind. So, I mean, the torps are, for the Marblehead, because of the long range, you can throw them out there quite a bit and they cycle through the reload quickly. But you just throw them out there and, you know, you're just trying to confuse the enemy by having them pop up on the screen, and it's distracting to them. You're not really going to get too many torp strikes with this once in a blue moon. In ranked, I wouldn't expect it to happen basically ever. But the Marblehead, for me, I've had the Founders Edition since the game came out. This version of the Marblehead, it's the non-FE version. Showed up in the stores yesterday, and, you know, like I said earlier, I do recommend the ship. But solid performer. Now we got a little taste of the meta on the Season 1, the Tier 5 rank. It was pretty heavily destroyer battleship centric, which we predicted that ahead of time just based on what ships the players that play this game are comfortable with. I found personally, when I got into the cruisers, into the high tier later rounds, that's when I could have the most impact of the game. Battleships I would rank second, destroyers third. I probably would rank destroyers my own personal weakest class, so that probably has something to do with it. But, you know, I consider myself to be an above average player in all classes. But that's neither here nor there. I just think the carry potential is most present with cruisers, and I talk a lot about it, you know, so I won't get too into it. But it's the ability to do double your HP. That's when you have disproportionate impacts on the game in terms of the total team HP pools. If you lose 2,700 or 27,000 in this case, which is my HP here, but I do 55k, that means I've essentially killed 2 cruisers worth on the enemy team, and then they only killed 1 in return. A lot easier to do double your HP in a cruiser, a well-played cruiser that is, than a battleship, for instance, which Tier 4 battleships, let's see, the average HP's upper 40s to, you know, low 50s. So you have to do roughly, you know, 100k in the battleship to do double your impact, which is, you know, where you want to start looking at to have a disproportionate impact on the game. Not impossible to do, but with only 7 ships in the match, you know, it's not too easy for the battleships to do that. But getting back to the Marblehead here, this one I usually play at range, more of an HE spammer. I do have my Norm Scott set up, but you can see I do switch over to the AP here, and you can land some nice shots with that, especially if they get in close. You get broadside encounters with other cruisers, something like that. The AP on this thing will shred them to bits. It's not as powerful of an AP shell as the heavy cruisers, Pensacola on up, which are the American cruisers I primarily play, but I do get a fair amount of games in the Marblehead. But, you know, again, the AP can shred cruisers. Battleships, it's very much, I'd say, not effective. You know, you really don't want to be fighting battleships close range, which is the only chance for those AP shells to be penetrating battleships. But even at close range, I still find a lot of issues with penetration. Now, I don't have a high-level Yamamoto, and I don't use him as an inspiration, but that could potentially mitigate some of those penetration issues against the battleship. But all in all, I try and use the HE shells. Getting 10, 15 fire games with this thing is not a problem. Very fast firing, fast cycles through the reload. A lot of guns on target. Easy to get guns on target. No matter, you can flip the ship back and forth because you have guns on both sides. They're pretty much ready to fire as soon as you get in position. So not really any downsides to this. All the Tier 4 cruisers are going to be lightly armored and susceptible to being one-shot, with the exception of the MLE, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So, but I think you'll be able to see throughout this footage here, when you angle properly, against cruisers you can bounce those shells, no problems. Battleships, you can mitigate the chances of the citadels occurring. You can't eliminate the possibility, and you can take some serious damage from any sort of armor angling when you're going against battleships, because their guns, the calibers, should be able to overmatch your armor. I don't know exactly what the armor is on this thing, but it's not heavily armored. But again, none of the cruisers at this tier are known for the durability. So you're going to be wanting to utilize cover. You're going to want to be utilizing smoke if you have a destroyer that's going to provide you smoke. Kiting, you need to be playing very defensively with these cruisers. But if you do play them well, I think you're going to be able to put yourself into a position where you can carry games, influence the games positively, and rack up some wins doing so. Now, comparing the Omaha to the Marblehead, I have way more experience in the Marblehead, just again because I normally play it for the premium promotion order missions, or just the premium ships in general make more XP and credits and stuff like that. And it's, as a ship, it's pretty similar to the Omaha. The Omaha, I've had some good games of that as well once I've taken them out recently, but for whatever reason I just have more success with the Marblehead. So whether there's some hidden stats that aren't on the readily available stats or whatever, I don't know. But I'm going to count the Omaha as kind of a sub pick to this. You can shuffle it up and down the list a little bit. But I got Marblehead number 1. I got Königsberg number 2. Now you could flip this one back and forth, and I don't know, a month ago before they nerfed the Königsberg, or maybe it was longer, maybe it was 2-3 months ago, that ship was clearing away, the strongest Tier 4 cruiser, probably the strongest Tier 4 ship, and it was really competing for the strongest ship at its tier in the game. And they kind of chilled the rate of fire a little bit, and they made a couple other tweaks. I don't play the Königsberg a whole lot. I don't try and spend a whole lot of time in Tier 4's matches, but I did play it a couple times, refreshing my memory with these ships. It's still ripping. And the main difference between the Marblehead and the Königsberg is more of an AP centric ship. And I'm not going to get too deep into the German shell characteristics, but you got to be more selective on when you're using those AP shells because of the penetration issues that those German AP shells do have. And if you need more information on that, I got plenty of videos on the German cruisers. Again, check the cruiser playlist. I go into detail, probably on all of them, about the German shell characteristics. So if you're new to the German line, or they're not performing as well as you want to, check those out. That'll give you some tips. But if you can get in a position to use the Königsberg AP, it shreds ships to absolute dust. There's no problem. It's still an extremely dangerous ship. Seems a little bit more brittle to me than the Omaha / Marblehead. That's part of the reason I devalued a little bit. But for me, it's kind of a coin toss, I guess. But I've just personally had more success with the Marblehead. I have a better commander setup on the Marblehead. And the Marblehead's the cruiser that I'm planning on going to war with. So I got Königsberg number 2. If you got it number 1, you're not going to offend me or anyone else, frankly. I think most people that are familiar with Königsberg understand how great that ship is. Again, I just don't know if it's going to be able to defend itself properly against good players using those Tier 4 battleships. But we'll see if any of the cruisers can. Maybe they're going to be so weakly armored that they're going to have trouble staying alive. If that's the case, my third pick is going to rise to the top very quickly. That's right, it's the Emily, the French Tier 4 cruiser. And this ship, offensively, I was never that wowed by it. I haven't played it a whole lot since I grounded the line. And by a whole lot, I mean I don't think I've played it since then. But what it has going for it is it's so lightly armored that battleships basically overpen it every single time. So it's kind of battleship immune in a little bit. I mean, you're still going to take 1k damage per overpen or whatever the exact. And you can see on the screen here, even this range of shooting AP shots into sections where, if they were going to go in, they were going to go in there. But getting back to the Emily, though, it's kind of more defensively minded because it's got that inherent survivability, which seems paradoxical, but because there's basically exactly no armor on it, it's about as armored as a destroyer. So you're going to get the same results as destroyers are going to get when battleships shoot at it. If battleships shoot to HE, then that's where they're going to get the big time damage on the Emily. But again, the offense, it's not horrible, but it's got double the reload, and maybe not double, but it's between double and... Let me read you the numbers. 11.6 on my Emily Burton reload build, 6.5 on the Marblehead, 7.3 on the Königsberg, okay? And 15 on the Furutaka, which we're going to talk about here. So the gun cycle, much slower, and, frankly, the damage, it just never really seemed to be there for me. But we'll see. I mean, like I say, because of the kind of survivability issues this tier has, it might be the top cruiser pick. Finally, the Furutaka. Now, those of you that are familiar with my work probably know I value Japanese cruisers quite a bit, and this might be a bit of a surprise to you. But we do have that 15-second reload. 203s, which are the same caliber guns that you're going to be running through the rest of the Japanese cruiser line. But there's only 6 guns on the ship. There's 9 on the German, the French. There's 8 on the Omaha. So the offensive output is just not there. Durability-wise, I think the Furutaka, in my experience at least, is probably one of the more sturdy cruisers at this tier. The Citadel, if you hit it, it'll hit it hard. But it's got the most HP at the tier. It's got the most armor. I personally don't think the Citadel is overly easy to hit. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But it just doesn't seem as big of a juicy Citadel as some of the other ones at this tier. So I got it last, though, because of the offensive problems that ship has. Let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think. Do you agree with my order, or do you got something else in mind? Let me know. That's going to do it, though. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, you should consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. And we'll see y'all later. Alright, peace.